This is Ron Holzer from Legion of Doom and the Skull, formerly of Trouble, and you're listening to the Heavy Galaxy Show. Metal.
Great. All right. Heavy Galaxy Show. Matt and John coming back at you with another killer episode this week. I typically do a little intro at the onset of the show, but I guess today, of course, doesn't need one of those, as his name and legacy speaks for itself. And we're blessed to have him with us once again on the show. The one and only Wino is with us this week. What's going on, Wino? Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Absolutely, man. Well, like you said, Wino, you got a bunch of stuff going on at the moment. We're going to dig into every, nook and cranny, what's currently going on in your musical world. But let's start with, some very recent news with The Obsessed. Your longtime drummer, Brian, I know has been now replaced with Monster Magnet and Atomic Bitchwax drummer Bob Pantella. Man, Bob, of course, is an exceptional, player behind that kid. So great addition to the band. But obviously, Brian, I know he's been with you for a long time. So kind of like, I'm sure of a catch-22 in certain respects, man. So I guess just fill us in if you don't mind, man. What's going on with the lineup change and how things go?
Well, I would like to fill you in, but to be honest with you, it's kind of still a mystery. I mean, I don't really know why Brian decided to step away. He was never actually very clear about it. It was kind of weird. We did a whole lot together, went a lot of places, and we were really good friends. And so there's a little bit of a kind of a shock and a little bit of surprise, but I'm chalking it up to just the sum of all parts. I mean, all he said was his heart wasn't into it anymore, and I know that I understand that 100%. I mean, I think that the touring and the constant touring, and he took on a pretty big role willingly, he would always want to, take on aspects of tour management and, payout type shit that was there was a lot of work, and I always tried to lessen that burden for him, but he always wanted to do it. So I don't really know what to say, except the fact he stepped away. And luckily we were able to get Bob. And I feel like really lucky that the timing was right and that Bob was into it. And, of course, he's man, I've always seen him play. I mean, I've been listening to him since Raging Slab and before.
Yeah.
So we're really happy about that. So yeah, we had a couple jams with Bob, and it's phenomenal. I mean, he kind of breathes new life into everything. So we're pretty psyched.
Sure, man. Yeah, no doubt. European tour you got coming up in the works, October. Obviously, you guys are playing the Church Within, man, in its entirety. 30th, I know, anniversary was for that album last year, man. So I mean, long time, I know. So yeah, I mean, I guess talk about the tour and what made you decide to go out and celebrate this record.
Okay, well, people are doing. I mean, it seems like that the promoters and booking agents they kind of like something a little different. So people, the anniversary tour was. We've been doing that for a minute of the Church Within, and that's great. I mean, it's 42 minutes. So we play that, and then if we're headlining, we play some other songs too, I mean, I really want to play new songs, but I get it, and we'll do it. I mean, the October tour looks pretty good. We're with a brand new booking agency. They're not new, but we are new to them. Sounds of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, SOL. So that's cool.
Great one.
Trying to make we're trying to just claw our way up.
Yeah.
Tell us about back when you recorded that album. Tell us a little about the background, what was going on at the time with you and the band and music in general when that album came out 30 years ago, which is still crazy to say that.
Yeah, that is crazy. And it was a crazy story because I had been on Hellhound Records, right? The Obsessed been on Hellhound Records. And they produced an artist agreement that I had supposedly signed. I don't remember signing it. Maybe I signed it, maybe that they got me when I was loaded. I'm not really sure. When I think about it now, that might have been fake. But anyways, Columbia Records wanted to sign us, right? And so, but we had to get off of Hellhound. So our lawyer was Rosemary Carroll. She's married to Danny Goldberg right now. But at the time, she was still going by Rosemary Carroll because she was with Jim Carroll, the Basketball Diaries, initially, right? Mm-hmm. So basically, the original bass player for Tool and Rosemary came down to see the Obsessed play because we had been recommended to them by the guys in Wool, which was Scream, basically. Mm-hmm. So she got them signed to London. Back in the day, your lawyer would shop you to the labels, okay? And so, like, Rosemary came down to see us play, and I remember that show as if it were yesterday. Like, we had to use rental gear, or everybody used the same gear. It was one of these Hollywood shows where it's like a venue that has different names depending on who the promoter is. Like one night it's like, the Cat House with like Tame Me Down. The other night it's like, I forget what it was, the Rock Night. But anyways, so we get up there and, we start playing and like everything's just falling apart. I mean, Greg's destroying the rental kit and Guy, he's just like, it's just not happening, man. So we had a little code back then. I would just turn to them. I would just say, Neats Brigade. And that was the code to like destroy the rental gear. So that's what we did. And at the end of that set, here comes this lady, and she's like, "Man, I really like you guys a lot. The Wool guys told me that you guys come down to see me in Beverly Hills tomorrow." And that was Rosemary Carroll. And she ended up getting us signed to Columbia. And that came about because of Kevin Sharp, man. Kevin Sharp and Brutal Truth. He was really talking us up good to Jim Welch. And the next thing you know, Josh Sarubin from Columbia, a pretty new A&R guy, heard about it. He came out to LA to audition us. And, the Hellhound people, the Germans, they totally blocked. They cock blocked him too. Like it was kind of a drag, dealing with all that. But eventually we did get signed to Columbia, and we wanted to record the shows within. So they gave us a pretty good amount of money. They did. And so we wanted to record it analog. Okay. We were determined to record it analog. So the only analog place available was Sandy Perlman's studio in it's across from the Alcatraz. God, I'll think of a minute. It's in Northern California.
Sausalito one?
What's that?
Sausalito? Was it?
No. Yeah, it's escaping me right now, but I'll think of it in a second. But it's outside of Frisco. On the other side, like across from Alcatraz. But it's a Grateful Dead. It's like the Grateful Dead place.
Was it Terrapin Station or whatever it is? Terrapin?
Terrapin Station. That's pretty fucking funny. But anyways, that's all that set aside. Like, so Sandy Purpose to have this analog studio, right? And so he had this like old Vietnam vet that was teching it, would tech the board and stuff like this. And then we brought our guy Schneeby in to actually do the engineering. And so I'm being a huge Blue Oyster Cult fan, and like, I love Sandy Perlman. Like, he wrote the lyrics to, Cities on Flame, and he managed Blue Oyster Cult. And so, like, I saw him flitting around, and I was in another room, like, doing pre-production, like, warming up and whatever. I saw him flitting around, so I started playing Seven Screaming Dizzbusters, off of Tyranny Mutation. And I called him right over to me, man. I was hoping I would. I called him right over, and once he came over, he goes, was that Seven Screaming Dizzbusters? And I was like, yeah, man, that's one of my favorite records, Tyranny Mutation. So I kind of sucked him in, so we got to talking, and eventually I got him to, like, tell me quite a few cool stories, but that was the deal at his studio right there. And so that's what we did. We brought in Schneeby, our German engineer, and then there's all kinds of stories around that record, actually. I mean, it's a pretty good time. I mean, it was a little bit anticlimactic when we actually signed the contract because of all the shit going on with the Germans. Like, I mean, Rosemary Carroll, she had Nirvana and Hole at the time. I remember she came in one day, and we're sitting there in her office, and she goes, "This is Nirvana's file. This is your file." And she slams on the table and goes, "Those German cocksuckers." But it was really tricky to do, the law thing because, and they got what they wanted. I mean, they got way more than they should have got, and I think that's one of the reasons why that Columbia fell asleep on the record pretty quick because, I mean, they got everything. They got like the best distribution and all that. So I don't know. In hindsight, what could I do differently? I'm not sure. Now, right. Think that they faked the artist agreement. I mean, I don't know, man. It was just, I was young, green, Yeah. But I will tell you, one of the most amazing things about that is, Columbia Records was on Madison Avenue, and it was this black building, and I kid you not, the address was 666 Madison Avenue.
No way. Wow.
The building is still there. But anyways, so we go on up to the top level, and I thought that, Streamlined, I thought should be the single because it was like 3 minutes long. It's the bike riding anthem. We really dug it. And so, of course, Schneeby accidentally erased the intro. So I had to do this kind of weird, like, slide intro. But anyways, we get up there. They had us demo. They had us go demo out all of our songs at this other place before we went up to meet him. We go up there. It's like, I can't remember the guy's name. He actually was in charge at this time now. God damn. I'm probably trying to push it out of my head. But you know, he stood up and he goes, I really like that third song. And I said, Streamlined. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, we'd really like to have you on Columbia. And I said, we'd really love to be on Columbia. When we shook hands, right at that moment, I thought, this is a license to fly. I mean, that was like a dream come true for anybody, you know, that's been a musician. The dream come true to be signed to a major label.
Yeah.
You know, and like I got the chill thinking about it. Of course, you know, it sort of turned out like people warned me about. They said, well, don't you think it's going to be, you know, like, you know, suicidal? I said, well, at the time, man, we had a license to fly. I mean, they were paying our rent. We're getting a salary, and they paid for a really nice rehearsal room, 24-hour rehearsal room. And then, you know, they gave us quite a bit of money to do the record, you know. So, I mean, I think it's a great record. That's all I can think. You know, I mean, I was happy with the record. And, yeah.
That must have been wild back then to get that money up front when you think about what's happening nowadays and in the scene with rock and metal and how things have just, you know.
The internet changed everything, you know, we know that. But I remember, like, because I remember getting picked up in the black town car to go take pictures in Jersey City. And I remember thinking to myself, if we don't have a hit, this isn't going to last. You know, I knew that. Like, I was like, back then in those days, like, we were like coming from the street, you know, punk rock, we're coming from the streets. Like, basically, me and Greg and Guy, we were just three people. And we did everything like democracy. And so I agreed, I don't know why, that Blind Lightning, they wanted Blind Lightning to be the single. I mean, the vocals don't even start till like, you know, a minute in. I mean, it was kind of like shooting yourself in the foot, you know. And in hindsight, that's probably one thing I would have done different. I would have put my foot down on that. But I remember, like, at that photo shoot in Jersey City for Columbia, going downstairs to take a pee and hearing on the radio that Kurt Cobain just died, you know. So that was like, they didn't know how to market us. They did not know how to market. They didn't have a lead singer, you know. And that was the way it was, you know. They didn't really know what to do with us after they signed us. And so basically our A&R guy, he said, well, I got some good news, some bad news. Where do you guys want to have dinner? Barney's Beanery. So we go down to Beanery, you know, we're sitting there, and he goes, what do you want the good news and bad news first? We said, give us the good news. He goes, okay, well, you know, the label has exercised their option for your second record. And so that, you know, I said, so that means like starting up costs and all that. So we were like, Yahoo! And then he goes, here's the bad news. He goes, Donnie Einer wants you to re-demo to be more radio friendly. And we looked at each other right then and there, and we just said, fuck you.
Damn.
Wow.
That's a tough thing to take. A tough thing when you think back, too. You're like.
After that, my life, well, I mean, you talk about a downward spiral after that. I mean, after that, it was just like, woo.
Do you ever think, like, maybe we should have done that? Or are you completely like, no, never would have done that?
Or do you think there was a way to create a song that maybe it wasn't a pop hit, but it was something that could be good enough to pass for it, but still not.
That's what you want to do. Like, I mean, there's any number of my songs I think could have been that as it was. I mean, you know, later on in my career, I got contacted by NBC, and they were doing that show Friday Night Live or whatever about the football game. It was a series, the football team. They wanted to use, well, one guy on the team wanted to use Touch of Everything. You know, so I mean, it wasn't like that there wasn't a song that could possibly be to cross that line. It's just that, man, you know, I think that, you know, it just, they soured on us, you know. I remember, like, you know, going in to talk to the merchandise guy for Columbia, and it was Bon Jovi's brother, you know. And we're getting ready to go on tour, and me and my girlfriend come in off the street, you know, I was wired out of my gourd, you know. And like Bon Jovi's brother, like, you know, he's just looking at me like, who is this dirtbag? Like, he's not going to have any ideas, you know. And he asked me if I had some ideas for t-shirts, and right away I was like, you know, just beamed out a couple. He was just kind of like stunned. I don't think that he thought that, you know, you know what I mean? It was kind of like to the label, you know, we were just fucking dirtbags, you know. And you know what? They can fucking suck one too.
Did you get an MTV? Did you get a music video out of that album?
Oh yeah. And if you remember, those were the days when if you wanted to make it big, or if you wanted to pass a test, you had to pass the Beavis and Butthead test.
That's right.
You know what they said?
Mhm.
I mean, there was some great stuff that came out of Beavis and Butthead, without a doubt.
Absolutely. But you know what they said for Street Side already? They said,
Uh-huh.
these guys look old. And that was it.
That was
I
it.
forgot that you guys were on Beavis and Butthead.
When I watch the video now, we don't look that old.
Yeah, I mean, MTV, between that and then obviously.
Time to be alive, I probably would have done a couple things different, but I was young, But regardless, I mean, I think it turned out to be a pretty good record. And like the songs that I had for the second record, the second Columbia record, turned out to be the majority of the songs that became Jug Full of Sun, Spirit Caravan, like Fear's Machine, Lost Sundance, and stuff.
What a great album.
Yeah.
That was such good stuff. Now, I mentioned MTV because, obviously Headbangers Ball was such a institution for getting out all types of metal, sometimes towards the end.
Yeah.
I recall you spent some time on Headbangers Ball, I think with PROBOT at least.
It was PROBOT.
Tell us a little about like that experience.
Well, it was really cool actually, because basically what it was is like, okay, Grohl, he came up with the concept PROBOT, but he wanted to get back. This record was designed for him to sort of get back to his roots, because he obviously became a pop dude. Mm-hmm. So, but he's a great guy and he's a great songwriter and he is a rocker to the bone, no matter what. And so, like he basically, I was on tour and he sent my wife at the time. He sent a tape, and he said, I'd really like Weiner to be on this, and I want him to write lyrics and play guitar on the song. Man, and I listened to that song and it was right up my alley. I mean, I loved everything about it. So like I was reading this, I was studying some ancient Babylonian cuneiform, and so I had the words. It's about like, the emerald tablets underneath the paws of the Sphinx, allegedly. But at the very beginning of that song, I do a little speaking thing. That's actually an ancient Babylonian poem that's translated off of cuneiform stela. So, I mean, I tried to get with it as deep as I could, and like we were I actually got to record it with David. We were going to do it at his place in Virginia because I lived in Maryland, but he left his machine on for 6 months, his tape machine, so it was burned up. So we went to Daji and Tara, inner ear, where all the DC punks did all their stuff. That was like, Fugazi and all that. So, so we did it there, and like he was there with his engineer. And I remember, they rolled in like a Vox AC30. But luckily, I had a distortion box, and I put a fresh battery in it, had it near the door just in case, because I knew it was going to be sabotaged without it, So we pulled it off, and I thought
who was on that show when you went? Like who all was there with you in
the studio and recorded it, and then of course we did. Then we got the call to do. Two things happened. The first thing was the big interview thing where we got swept around all day long. It was like basically it was Snake, me, Grohl, of course, Grohl's guy that played bass in his band that's now his engineer. That'll come to me too in a second. But who else was there? Oh yeah, Eric Wagner, of course. There. So basically, he flew everybody in, and but as far as like actually playing live, it was me. Nick Raskulinecz is what I'm thinking about. So playing live, it was me, Greg Anderson on guitar, David on drums, Nick Raskulinecz on bass, and Eric Wagner on vocals, because we were doing Eric's song off PROBOT, My Tortured Soul. So basically, the first thing we did was we showed up at the place to rehearse, and so we rehearsed it a bunch of times, and then that was all catered and everything. It was really cool, man. They treated us real good. Put us up in the Chelsea, and then the next day we went around in this black town car. Now it's everybody: Snake, Greg, me, Nick. Went around to all these different magazines and stuff, and did like pictures, and like we went to them basically. So the last one, okay, this is the best story of this whole thing. Okay, so early in my career, like when I was still in St. Vitus, Kerrang! Magazine slandered me. Okay, now the reason I found out about it because I was walking down the street and I passed one of my friends. This was in Hollywood, and he goes, "Man, when did you get out?" I was like, "What do you mean? When did I get out?" He goes, "Well, you robbed that liquor store and all this. I read about it in Kerrang! Magazine." I was like, "What?" I said, "Who's on the cover?" He said, "Bon Jovi." I said, "Okay." So I stomped down to Bleecker Bob's, man. There it was. Bought the fucking copy. In the like News from the USA, there's a column called News from the USA, right? By this guy, Don King. It was like I can still tell you how it started. It said, "Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Brilliant yet erratic. St. Vitus singer frontman, Wino, had just gotten out from being in L.A. jail for robbing a liquor store, right?
Wow.
Utterly false. Like,
Wow.
how the fuck did he get that, So basically, I was at another friend of mine's house, and we were sitting around playing guitar with this dude, and he turns out he's a lawyer. And turns out he's like a junior partner at this big fucking law firm. So I started a lawsuit against Grant because that was just beyond the pale, man.
Sure.
We didn't have any money. I remember sitting across from the dude in Beverly Hills, across from my friend, at his big desk, and I was like, "Well," I said, "I don't really have any money, but I just remember I threw a bag of fucking shit on his desk," and he was like, "Okay." That was like, that was how I retained him,
Damn. Wow.
But eventually we got busted. We all got busted together, and he was there too as a lawyer guy, and that ended his career and also ended my lawsuit.
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
But back to PROBOT though. Okay, so here we are, years and years later. We're in the elevator, the last interview we're going to do, and I said, "Who's this guy?" And Dave goes, "Oh, it's this guy Don King." And I was like, "Really?" It was such a long way up in the elevator that I told all these guys in PROBOT the whole story. Dave was just like, "You're not going to kill the guy." I said, "No." As soon as Don King saw me, he made me last. He waited until he tried to run the clock out, so I didn't have to sit down and talk to him. But he had no choice. He had no choice, and finally, me and him were talking. And to be honest with you, I can't even really remember how it went down. I mean, I wasn't I was just happy to be there with David. And all. I wasn't trying to embarrass anybody, but I think I did call him out on it. I can't remember what he said, but whatever it was fucking bullshit, and he's bullshit. And it's all bullshit.
Yeah. Who was the host of Headbangers Ball at that time?
Oh, it's Jamie Johnson. So after all the interviews, that's when we hit the studio, which was right above, I think, 42nd Street, and Jamie Johnson was hosting, and then that was fantastic. We all talked, and then then we played that song with Eric. Eric was wearing his Elvis shirt, like in studs, Nice. I remember a lot about that kind of those days. Pretty fun, man.
Did you know Lemmy?
I did know Lemmy. Okay, so the second video was Shake Your Blood. That was the second thing I thought that we did, the Shake Your Blood video. And that was really interesting because me and my ex-wife were driving, and I get this call from Greg Anderson. He's like, I was just looking at her. I'm like going, "Shoot with Dave Grohl and Lemmy." She's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Naked Suicide Girls." And she's like, "Okay." So they fly me in. And we go, it's in Hollywood, and it's the same studio where Zappa filmed 200 Motels. So it's another one of these studios where the stage actually spins. So basically, since we were we were dubbing, we were listening to the music and playing it. So basically, you got the monitors on the part that spins with you. So the monitors are right there. You're hearing the song from the record on there, and we were just air guitaring it, right? Lemmy was so great, man. But I'd already knew him through, all right, we had the same dealer, right? So I knew Lemmy because he was really into World War II shit, and somebody left some crap at my house. I went down there and sold him some World War II insignia. He was, man, all about that shit, And that was pretty cool. It was a good meet, a good time. And there was nothing in his apartment at all except no food in the refrigerator except Carlsberg. Nothing. Wow. Carlsberg and a gigantic can of mouthwash in the bathroom, and that was it.
What?
Oh, wow.
I mean, later on in his movie, you can see his apartment has gotten a lot more cluttered. But when I was there, he had those SS daggers fanned out like suns, gigantic posters from huge festivals he'd done in Germany. I mean, it was like walking into the palace, man. Of that was like a holy place, I remember Rip Magazine at the time was doing a piece. They were doing a piece at the end of every Rip Magazine. At the very end, Lemmy did a column, and I remember that he did a column on religion, and I liked it so much I cut it out and I put it in my wallet. And so when I did meet him finally, going over there to sell him this World War II shit, I was like, "By the way, would you sign this?" And he's like, "Wow, that's cool. You have it." I was like, "Yeah, man, I really dig this, and I think it's one of the best things I've read in a while." So I just cut it out. And then he goes, "Would you like to read the draft of the new one that I'm writing?" And I said, "Yeah." And I read it, and he goes, "You read quite fast for an American." You know,
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
wild, man.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever party with him?
Not really. I mean, I know that you know, at the PROBOT shoot, I mean, at the Shake Your Blood shoot, I mean, his manager basically just followed him around all day long, filling up his Jack and Coke, and you know, it was pretty interesting. I mean, I never really got high with him or anything like that, but I know that we had some cool interaction that day. And
Yeah.
also, we had some, you know, some awkward shit happen too. Like, you know, at the beginning of the session, I gave him a pick, and then at the end of the session, when he was getting ready to leave, he went and had my pick back like this. But I forgot I gave him the pick, so I thought he was just trying to high five me. So we had this kind of awkward, like, yeah, it was weird, but it was really fun, man. It was
That's
really
cool.
fun. Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
really glad I got a chance to do that. And David is just a gracious host and like amazing person all the way around. I mean, I don't care what anyone thinks about Foo Fighters. I think he's an amazing guy.
Oh, he's been an unbelievable ambassador for rock and roll. He's done so much. I mean, that HBO series he did was, I don't know why they don't do another version of that, but in Europe or somewhere in England, because Dave, I know Dave.
Trauma. You know, he's had some trauma in his life recently, and all I would say to him is, man, you know, keep on keeping on, man. You know?
Keep on, yeah, absolutely, man.
But you're heading to Europe. How long's the tour? And tell us a little bit about the difference between doing shows in Europe versus doing shows in the United States.
Well, you know, the first time I toured Europe was with St. Vitus, and we went from 50 people in LA to like 500 people in Switzerland. And I tried to figure it out for a long time, like why that was. And, you know, they got it. Why did they get it sooner? And it must have been the medieval shit, man. You know, they're older. You know, they came up with a really primitive, like, kind of like, you know, warrior kind of society. I don't know. That's all I can figure out is, you know, the medieval thing, but they got it faster than it. You know, they were already into Vitus, like way into Vitus, you know, before the people in the States were. And, you know, people just come out to shows there. I mean, especially in Germany, there's a fucking really solidarity. You know what I mean? If they like you, man, they come out and, you know, get the football cheers and the whole crowd's doing you know, I've had amazing times over there, but not to discount the USA. I mean, I always thought if you can't crack your own country, you ain't shit, you know? And, you know, I've had some amazing shows in the States too. You know, some of my favorite places to play were in San Francisco, Denver. You know, unfortunately, you know, some of those cities have just become so, you know, people don't even want to tour there because you're guaranteed to get your window broken out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent quite a while to that part of the world, but I insist on going back because that's, you know, we always had great markets out there, and you know, you're going to get
Denver's one of the hottest cities
right now. It is, yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of people supporting music there. They got a lot of music coming out of there from from the heavy rock, stoner rock, heavy psych, doom. That's a hot place.
It's a great place, man. It's always a great place. That's one of the only places where the Hidden Hand act. We actually had we sold out the Bluebird Theater, I think, one night there, which was amazing. I mean, that's the first time, the only show that the Hidden Hand ever sold out in the U.S. That was cool.
Yeah, and I saw you guys. You put out all those Hidden Hand records this year, man.
Yeah, we just re-popped them, actually. Yeah, we did re-pop them. Man, I'd love to send you guys some copies or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Would you ever do anything with that again? Because I know that's a little more of this, like lyrically, I know that's a little more on the political angle of things that you usually do. Because I just think that band doesn't get mentioned enough with the stuff that you do. You know what I mean? And I think it's some of your best stuff you ever put out.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I kind of feel like that was sort of like when I was really, really down, right after Spear Caravan. We did when my ex-fiance Sarah was in the band for a minute, and we rehired Bruce to play bass in this version of The Obsessed. We only did 5 shows before we had this violent meltdown, but we used to play Desensitized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those albums great. I want to ask you too. Obviously, Black Sabbath, right? They just had their Back to the Beginning send off.
Yeah.
And so the Classic Rock magazine out of England, which is to me still one of the only periodicals that kind of actually stick to music instead of all the shit that these magazines put out these days. But they put an article about I think it was titled something about 10 bands that fill the Sabbath-shaped hole in your life, and two of the top three they mentioned, obviously, are St. Vitus and The Obsessed.
Yeah.
And what's kind of cool, they call it the Holy Trinity. Both those in trouble. They call it the '80s U.S. Doom Lords, the Holy Trinity. But what do you? I mean, just thinking about those days, those bands, you guys were the only ones kind of really carrying that '70s torch at that time when everything was about speed. And I think what's even nuttier is that, I don't know if a lot of people know about that. What The Obsessed is, you guys obviously had that track that was on the Metal Massacre compilation, but you guys also had that first album in the tank that I believe was supposed to be put out on Metal Blade, right?
Right. Like the lady who was managing us was friends with Penelope Spheris, who did she did those movies.
Decline. Yeah.
But she also did that other movie too, the really cool one about the homeless kids. Anyways, she was a pretty famous movie maker. And so, Ann Berry went out to hang with Penelope, and while she was out there, she was basically out there to shop us. So she shopped us to Metal Blade. Slayer liked it. And basically the deal at the time was you get one song on the comp, the Metal Massacre comp, and then you get a full length. So we recorded the full length on our own dime, same with the song. And so that song was Concrete Cancer. But on that record is the debut basically of thrash. I mean, we were on that record, but so was Nasty Savage, Dark Angel, The Possessed. I mean, Slayer just jumped out of the box with their two Metal Blade records. I think Haunt the Chapel, and was that an EP?
Yes, I think it was. Yes,
right.
An
EP. So, anyways, thrash hit, and that's when Slayer just said, basically he did not give us our full length deal. He reneged on the deal. No paper was signed, I believe. But anyway, so I carried those tapes around with me for a long time, and finally got Hellhound to release those tapes. Those reels. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, and that was, and did he just do that just because at the time it was all about thrash? So he was like,
I mean, if you listen to that record, you can tell. Like, I mean, we definitely have like a dinosaur song on there, but I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a disappointment for real. I mean, eventually, once Vitus got signed to Hellhound, I talked those dudes into putting it out. The Purple record, as it became called, or the self-titled.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of cool too. Is you guys were also back then accepted and really well received, as you kind of talk about. You came from the punk, hardcore community there in DC. Yeah. I mean, with a band that sounded like The Obsessed, which is, it's kind of different. I guess you guys were kind of like the East Coast Black Flag or something, I guess you'd call it. You know what I mean? Because
like, I remember, like, okay, the first professional shows that we ever did, like, I was dating this little biker chick who tended bar at this place called Beneath It All in DC, Georgetown. So she goes, go talk to this dude Ripple if you want a gig there. This guy Ripple, he's an ex-pagan. He's going to be down. He runs the place. So I get down there through rush hour traffic on like a Friday evening, about 5:36. There's Ripple setting up chairs in this, but this venue was like a wine cellar. It was like a tiny little stone place called Beneath It All, right? It was directly underneath the Crazy Horse, which was just this huge pickup joint, like the huge meat market, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, he said, well, okay, I'll give you guys a shot. You got to play 3 sets. You got to play 3 45-minute sets. So I was like, okay, so we had to get quite a bit of material together. So at the time, we had another guitar player who was kind of an eclectic dude. He was a great guy. He turned me on to like hard jazz and shit, but he was a little problematic to work with sometimes. But we whipped up a set of like, and we used to play Sweet Little 16. We play Helter Skelter. Then we played like Decimation, All right. So I ran into Henry. Henry Rollins has got, his spoken word shtick, right? Well, pretty much every one of his spoken words that he does, he tells this same story. And I noticed that over the years, I get thuggier and thuggier, man. It's like, the more years go by to tell the story, the more like radical that I become, which it wasn't like that really. It's like we passed on the streets of DC, skinhead, long hair, at the height of like that kind of animosity.
Yeah.
He had a Black Flag button and I had a Motörhead button. And he goes, Motörhead. And I was like, Black Flag. And so that's when he introduced himself, and I said, come down and see us Beneath It All. Now, he never did, but Wendell Blow from Iron Cross did, as did John Stabb and a few other people. And I remember Wendell, they used to hate it because we played punk rock covers too. Like we played, Call It With Meat in Your Mouth, Dead Boys and Sonic Reducer and like some Iggy shit. And they hated that shit, right? But when they'd be yelling out for like Decimation, which is like, man. So that's
what year was that? Like roughly?
Oh man, that had to be God. I want to say 70s. I mean, was that like maybe 79 or like 80s almost? Probably.
DC was a dangerous place back then.
And I'll tell
I
you,
grew up right outside of it.
oh yeah, right. But the funny thing about it was the reason I was down there that night that I met Bronze is because it was a Sunday night. The reason was because I lost my van the night before Saturday night. Like I got so loaded, I fucking parked my van somewhere and I couldn't drive. I didn't forget what I did. Now I made it all the way back to my home, back home in Wheaton. I was like, "Where's my fucking van?" Oh, no.
Oh, shit.
I gotta hate when that happens.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, you just said the name Ripple, and speaking of Ripple, we just talked to Todd Severin last week, the label, and he's told us, you've got some stuff that's coming up this year, I believe, right? You want to talk about that a little bit, or?
I'd love to talk about that.
Sure.
So I think it's my 4th solo record will be released on October 24th on Ripple. It's called Create or Die. And it's pretty good. I think it's a little bit eclectic, but it's a pretty good snapshot, I think, of me and, my taste. There's some personal songs on there. There's the song I wrote to my deceased father. It's called Never Said Goodbye. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And, saying goodbye. And then there's since Frank Marchand is, the guy that I like to record with in the studio, he was also the tour manager and soundman for this Irish folk band, We Banjo 3. Okay. So I had kind of like a Celtic kind of style song called New Terms. It's on Create or Die. And I told him, I said, man, I could really hear the Irish drum, the bow drum, whatever. I could really hear a bow drum. And he goes, I could really hear an Irish banjo. I'm going to send those dudes the files. So basically on this one song called New Terms, we got the banjo player, traditional Irish dudes playing traditional instruments like banjo on that, and also the bow drum. Those guys had like kind of a Yoko Ono trip to where they split the band up, the two brothers, but they each played on it. I don't know if they each knew that each other did, but Frank organized it. So that was really cool. And then like another song, I got a fondness for Texas, and I wrote a song there called Bury Me in Texas. And I was like, man, I can really hear pedal steel on that. Frank goes, I know just the guy. And so it's got some pretty cool stuff happening there with like basically some guests,
Okay.
We Banjo 3 brothers, Dave, pedal steel player. And then, for drums, I mean, it was going to be an acoustic record, but the more I got into it, the more I was like, man, I really could hear drums on this tune. And Brian wasn't into it, but I got my guitar tech Kai to play most of the drums on not every song, but almost all of them. And then I had this kid come in too, this guy, Cameron Queen, a friend. I know his dad, and his dad's a great drummer, but his dad wasn't available. So his son came in and did it and fucking nailed it. And that's like pretty much the most punk rock song on the record. So there's like kind of like a protest punk song. There's like kind of eclectic, kind of like Celtic vibe song. It's also kind of a little bit of protest song. And there's a couple more personal tunes. And then there's there's a couple, some of it's a little country fried. I mean, I think it runs the gamut from like kind of country fried to like, there's one naked solo song at the end, which is like, there's a personal statement on society. Like, so yeah, Create or Die. And that concept was actually penned by a good friend of mine out in Texas, who's a biker, breeds kennels dogs and stuff. And man, I love this guy's named Carlito. And he wrote me a letter one time, and at the end of it, he just said, Create or Die. And I was like, that's it. I mean, that sums up, that's my whole philosophy really in life, And so I asked him, hey, can I use that? And he was cool with that. And so there it is.
Very cool, man.
I got Brittany Elliott to draw a piece for the inside of the record. Really cool piece she did for the circular parts, like, on the vinyl and on the CD. And then, I did a lot of the art myself. And then my wife took a couple pretty good pictures, and yeah, we put it together.
Nice. And Forever, it's going to sound different than Forever Gone, a little bit different sounding or similar, or
it's not as acoustic, it's not as much acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, songs that Forever Gone are pretty heavy, I think, and a lot of those songs are older. It's a little bit different. Yeah, I think it's different. I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit, I want to say eclectic, just because, it's got one song's got like kind of folkier vibe. And then there's a song called Us or Them that I'm hoping probably might be the single, which is like a straight out rocker. I mean, but all these, all the songs, they're me. I mean, they reflect in the, like I'm writing the words and I'm telling the stories, and, it's like, me.
Yeah, that sounds good. When is any ETA on the release? Is it probably
24th of October.
What's that?
The 24th of October.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I thought maybe we did.
He squeezed it in, which is fantastic. It was going to be February, and I got to thank Todd. I mean, Todd's a great guy. He's done me, he's done me right, and I wanted, when I heard February, I was kind of like, I don't know. I guess I got the art to him a little bit, tiny bit late, but man, he squeezed it in. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's great. And we heard there's another musical thing you'll be doing through Ripple as well with your wife, correct?
Yes, there is. Yeah. So my wife, about a couple years ago, 3 years ago, so she started playing bass, and she's a really amazing person, anyways. And she just took, I went on tour somewhere. We did something. I came back. She'd written 11 songs, right?
Wow.
Singing, lyrics, and everything. The lyrics are really cool. The band is called Ritual Arcana.
Nice.
I play guitar, and then Oak Munson, the drummer from Black Lips, plays drums. And so it's kind of, it's an interesting mix, but it works out really, really good. He's from DC area. He was in some bands out there, and the Rondells, I think. And so we met through another friend of ours, and we realized he lived up here and he's got a studio up in New York. That was fantastic. It all fell together really nice. And I'm blown away. I'm blown away really, because we spent our own dime and went in and recorded it with Frank, the Ritual Arcana record. And Shirley kicks some serious ass, man. She plays bass. We're just a trio. She plays bass and sings. I just play guitar. I don't sing. I don't even talk. It's amazing. Yeah. And then hopefully comes. It's really cool. So we did our first show in Troy, New York, a couple months ago, and our next show is going to be August 10th at the Mercury Lounge in New York City.
In the city, yeah, absolutely. Wow. Hell yeah, man.
Did you catch any of that Black Sabbath? Well, I would call it more of an Ozzy tribute.
I did watch that, actually. I watched that.
Cool. Give us a little bit of your highlights of what you thought and some of the maybe questionable stuff.
As usual, Geezer kicks ass.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no stopping that motherfucker. He's been a vegan since the day. You know what I mean? That is awesome, man. He's like to me, he's like the picture of, what you would strive to if you were like a perfect human. I read his book too, and his book was fucking really amazing.
That's great.
And, the book is interesting, because whatever preconceived notion you have about these old Sabbath tunes, you know what I mean? It'll change your way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
But he was great, and man, Iommi's great. Man, I don't know. It just didn't have the fire. It just didn't have the fire. Like Iommi's solo didn't have the fire. I feel sad about it because Ozzy was locked into his throne and all that. But I'm really happy that they got to do that as a band. I did see one reunion not pretty long time ago though, when they said they were going to break up, and they did a reunion with all the original members. And I saw that in Birmingham. I was on tour actually, and we got a chance to see them in Birmingham. But that was a long time ago, man. I'm trying to think exactly what I was doing out there. It was Vitus. Yeah, but anyways, I thought, look, Sabbath is Sabbath. They fucking kicked in the doors. I saw them in 1973 on the Paranoid tour, and it changed my life.
What is if there was one Sabbath song in particular, what would it be for you that?
That's a fucking hard question. That's a hard question.
Even if you want one now,
I would have to say, man, that's almost an impossible question, but I would say
the stuff, yeah.
I would probably say, yeah, that's cool. I appreciate that. I would probably say either a National Acrobat or Lord of this World.
Okay. Good one.
I gotta have to give you two, man. Sorry.
I know. No, totally, man.
There's so many songs.
But I remember when I saw them, I was so young. I didn't have a band yet, and the way seeing them live for the first time as a youngster. It was on my 13th birthday. I'm 64 now. So seeing them do that then, man, it was unbelievable in my mind. Seriously, what I was thinking during that show. I thought there's no way that this show is going to be able to go the full length because Geezer's going to rip the strings out of his bass, or Wart's just going to pound his drums into like smithereens. I didn't think there was any way that the show was going to last and how hard they were playing. It was really fucking. It made such a big impression on me. I still know what Ozzy was wearing. It's like, and with the power of the internet too, I can go back now and reference all my early shows that I saw, like James Gang when Joe Walsh first left.
Oh, nice.
Show. You know, Alice Cooper on the Killer Tour with Mitch Ryder, Detroit Wheels supporting. I saw Bluester Colt and Nazareth together. Razman Naz. I mean, I feel serious. You know,
where did you see Sabbath?
I saw Sabbath at the Baltimore Civic Center.
Oh, wow.
My dad took us, and they were being supported by Edgar Winter's White Trash, you know, with all the brass and shit, right? So they had the brass, and Rick Andrew playing guitar, you know, and fucking after Edgar Winter finished, my dad stood up and goes, "You guys ready to go?" And we're like, "Dude, Black Sabbath hasn't even played yet." Like, got this look on his face, kind of just sank back down in his chair, like, you know. Blue. The place was blue from pot smoke, you know what I mean?
Nice.
But, you know, we split, like, we had left a little bit early to beat traffic, but I can remember, like, in the parking garage, like, hearing Fairies Wear Boots was just ringing in my head, you know? Dude, goddamn, I get to chill when I think about it.
Nice.
To me, the most important band that's ever been in the history of music is Black Sabbath. When you just go in the bigger scope of things and what they did creatively, you know, putting together jazz, blues, and fuzzing it up with this British thing that, I mean, the Brits just really
Ozzy's
did
different, man. You know, Ozzy's thing was different. His voice is so high and so
amazing.
Nobody could really cover him, you know. But you know what's really funny about Sabbath? They were fucking hated in the press. Hated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Especially here in the States.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, they just no one of those kind of people just didn't get it. And I think that scared people, even the name and the heaviness of it. I think it just a bunch of people got scared. Hell, I even at
they
the
got
beginning of my
Paranoid. You know, Paranoid did it, you know. Paranoid was one. They said themselves in an interview somewhere, like, you know, that all of a sudden when they played Paranoid, all of a sudden, like, the kids started rushing the barriers, you know, and like literally bringing on a ride. And, you know, that song, when you listen to that song now, I mean, just the production, the delivery, I mean, it's unbelievably good, you know. I mean, there's nothing fucking bad about that song. The lyrics are pretty fucking wild, man. You know, the lyrics are pretty anti. Like, I saw guitar player for King Crimson. I'm sorry, man. Must be that short-term thing. But he covered it, and his girlfriend is this young lady, and they left out the part, "finished with my woman," you know, because she couldn't help me with my mind. But I mean, if you think about it, they were never really a negative band really at all, and they weren't an anti-religious band either. Like, you know, they don't really have any pro. I mean, okay, like NIB, you know, is from the viewpoint of Lucifer, but as far as like they're not really promoting Satanism.
No, yeah.
And he even said, Tony recently even said, or Geezer said, NIB actually was referring to this facial hair that Bill Ward had, that it was a nib.
Dude, that's
because it's not Nativity in Black. It's going to put in.
And all
the other thing is that War Pigs was not an anti-political song like everyone, you know, because obviously the lyrics, it brings you to that moment, but it actually wasn't either. It was more about good and evil, more about evil.
Right.
It was called like Warpurgers or Walpurgers or something like that was the original name until the label changed it. It's
Walpurgis not, which is like the Witches' Sabbath. Is that what it was?
Something like that. And I mean, if you go back to even like Fairies Wear Boots and just the swing and the Wizard. Yeah. I mean, those songs are just, I just don't know. I don't think any band is able to quite get to those levels of songwriting.
I mean, timeless. I mean, even the production on the first record, I think, is amazing. And they did 8-track, right? I mean, it's amazing, right? But it's funny you say that about Nativity in Black because, you know, I've read Geezer's book, so that's what he talked about. But all the way to like the Columbia Records first Black Sabbath tribute, Nativity in Black, where they asked me to play. Basically, what it was is that, okay, Black Sabbath, they had the original Sabbath, right? And so they're going to do this. They were going to do this version of the Wizard. Now, Toby Wright, the producer, he found a studio harp player and a studio guitar player, and they built that version of the Wizard that's on Nativity in Black. They took it to England. Geezer liked it so much he wrote the extra heavy part that's in the middle there, right? So, but by the time, so they got everybody on tape. They had the whole band. But by the time they get back to LA, and all the record company cheese was happening, Sharon Osbourne against Naomi, whatever his label was at the time. So they couldn't use Iommi, they couldn't use Ozzy. So I got the call. Basically, what they did, they asked Henry Rollins if he wanted to sing on it. He said, no, why don't you call Wino? But by the time they'd call me, they'd already got Halford, right? So then they said, well, you want to play the guitar because they couldn't use Iommi's tracks. And all I did was go in there, meet Toby Wright. He brought the shit up, and I plugged in my guitar through my amp, and all I did was like play along and basically wiped his tracks, basically. And play, basically I replaced Iommi's tracks on the rhythm. And then I told Toby, I said, there's a cool version too. If you never heard it, it's an amazing version.
Oh, it's on Bullring Brummies, I think was the name of the band, right?
Bullring Brummies, right?
There you go.
Oh, it was amazing.
Amazing, right?
Amazing.
And the studio, like that studio guitar player, like with the slide every time, it was like, Roo, and Toby Wright was standing over me like to the 12th every time I had the slide every time, And I just remember that I was blown away. I never met those dudes or anything like that or any of that. I just played the thing, but it was crazy, man. It was fantastic. I love
One of the most iconic like cover album, tribute albums there is anywhere.
I mean,
everything's held to that standard, Matt. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Like, what is there that's better than that? I mean, there's been a lot.
I mean, there's like, who was on that? Faith No More did a song.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Biohazard?
Biohazard, Machine Head, I think. Monster Magnet did one.
Well, and then remember there was the Ministry one that did Supernaut.
Yes.
That was.
Well, for sure, that it blew my mind. I fucking love that shit.
It's insanity. Yeah.
That's the thing about George. He brought electric guitar back into the industrial thing, which I gotta say, I love. That's what's missing,
Mm-hmm.
That was great version, I thought that was
the electric guitar and just that groove and rock and roll. You just got to hope that it keeps climbing back into things in our society, in our country, because that's the roots of American music. As we know it, with jazz and blues and country western, is kind of has the backdrop of what all this has been formed out of. And
that's right.
Loud, electric, aggressive guitar, there's nothing wrong with it. And the kids just need to know the real power behind it and that collaboration of people making music together instead of some dude rapping, talking, or singing over a computer generated sounds. I mean, it's
remember when Billy got busted out. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say musicianship versus this overproduction is part of this thing. And of course, with AI now happening, that goes on the side, really.
It's another beast,
on the rap, hip hop, and pop music side of things. And so that's where rock and roll really needs to get more and more vocal and use very little of any of that shit.
Right.
And prove that people collaborating and doing things together, real musicians and creativity.
And a band is like all about camaraderie. Like, if you have a trauma in your life, if you get dumped by your chick or whatever it might be,
right?
You always have your band, man, because that's your refuge. I mean, to this day, going and playing live, jamming with the band, that's like my soul. That's my saving, man. I mean, that's like my therapy,
Mm-hmm.
Really. And once again, I gotta say, Kozik, man, Frank Kozik was instrumental in kickstarting the whole movement again, because his label, I mean, Man's Ruin. I think personally that because of that label, it kind of brought us where we are today,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with all that street art too, that's the other thing that missing too, right? Is he was big on the whole street art stuff, and
he was totally sick, man. Like those Melvin schools that look so.
Oh yeah.
And then you're thinking the dog's got two heads, or whatever it is.
I know. Yeah.
Listen, I just read a book, an amazing book. It's called Musical Truth. Okay. Now there's been a sequel since I've read the first one, but this book got lent to me by a friend of mine, Musical Truth. I highly recommend picking that up and reading that book. It's amazing. It's basically digs really deep into like kind of like the not so much talked about like underbelly of music, rock. It touches on all kinds of cool stuff, man. It touches on everything from the Paul McCartney is dead thing to Satanism and stuff like that, and hip hop and all. But it's very well researched, and it's not just conspiracy bullshit. It's an amazing read, actually. So I just wanted to say that that's a good thing. I mean, I think that's a very captivating and informative book.
And who put that out?
Musical Truth. I can't remember the author, but that's what it's called, Musical Truth.
Musical
There's part
Truth.
1 and 2, but start with part 1. I haven't even read part 2 yet, but I mean, this guy, like, he had an awakening. He says, he was a DJ, like a rhythm and blues DJ, and he had an awakening, and he started like digging a little bit deeper. And I mean, I've known about a lot of the stuff he talks about for a long time, but it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty deep.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of art, I know you've been doing a lot of art stuff lately, right? You got your wino-art.com.
Yeah.
I saw some pretty cool looking things up there, especially that pillow, your self-portrait pillow, man. That thing's pretty cool. I mean, is that just something you got into recently?
We couldn't sell that, man.
I think that was the best.
Pull that,
Matt, you need to get one.
Yeah,
Matt, you got to get a couple.
I'll send you guys a care package. I'll send you guys some hidden records and stuff, But so the site, I feel really blessed because, was able to sell art, especially during the lockdown and all that shit because of the fan base I built through the music, and so I got a jump start on that, and I really enjoy doing art. I mean, I don't really consider myself like the best painter, but I mean, I think that it's like. But I think I don't think right now. I'm kind of twisted.
Yeah, you're competing in the art world with Hunter Biden, so it's pretty amazing.
God damn, I'd love to see that. I heard it got burned up in the Palisades fire. I don't know if that's true or not.
All those beautiful art he did with straws.
How fucking much of a fitting thing would that be? Because we know that those fires were set. Of course they were.
Oh yeah.
Of course. And now they're doing a land grab. They won't let people rebuild because the spotted owl is that's the habitat. But now they're buying it all up. I mean, same as Hawaii.
They are buying it up. They're gonna put low income housing at 40% of it, which in a Palisades, which is like this iconic.
It's all theater,
amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Where the world is constantly a theater for us to just watch and marvel at. That's all there is.
I mean, just all they miss is fucking big pointy shoes,
Yeah. Oh man. Also, anything else you got coming up? We haven't talked about. Why not you wanted to let everyone know about while we got you on here?
Man, pretty much, the Rich O'Connor show at the Mercury Lounge on the 10th. That's the next thing.
Okay.
And August 10th, and then of course. The release date for Creator Die, October 24th. And then, we're doing our tour in October in Europe. And we're psyched, man. We're psyched to play with Bob. I mean, he's a road warrior all the way. All he wants to do is, play rock music, tour. And, man, it's like, he's a man of my own heart. And, like, I've always wanted to jam with him, too. So it was so great. The way it worked out was amazing. It's sad, of course, to close one chapter and all, but man, this is what we do. It's create or die,
Yeah. And do you have a support band going on tour with you over there in Europe?
We do. Cyclona.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah. And
great band. You'll like them.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. That was like I think they're on our booking agent placed them with us, and then I think it's gonna be great. Yeah.
They're really good band. I've seen them a number of times. Phil's a cool chap.
Amazing.
Great guys. Those British guys can rock. They're a hot band as well. All their albums have done really well. Former Ripple band even. So
they sound really good. They sound good. I mean, I think it's nice to have a band like that to go out with you. That you can enjoy watching and hanging with. Every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like totally cool. So that's
we're doing quite a few festivals. I mean, we're doing some festivals, and we're it's a good long tour, so it should be good.
You going anywhere besides Germany? What countries are you hitting?
Man, we're playing the gamut. We're playing Croatia for the first time. We're doing Germany, Switzerland. No, I don't think there's any Scandinavia. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at it, but it pretty much covers the gamut, But it's going to be
first time in Croatia. You said, huh?
Yeah, we're playing for the first time in Croatia. And,
nice.
I've
heard unbelievable things about the architecture.
It's beautiful. I can see like all the waterfalls and all the really nice. I mean, from what I can see, it's beautiful. I've never been there, but it's amazing. I mean, we played. I remember like when the Obsessed first one ever before we were really signed, we did like kind of this punk rock tour, and we played in Nova Gorica, which was when when the war was still happening, the Serbian war was actually still happening. But Milosevic was on his way out. The Bosnian War and all that shit, and Serbia got split up.
Mm-hmm.
And we were one of the first bands to play this one city, which was amazing. Yeah, man, it's really, I feel so lucky. I mean, I was in Switzerland and then Germany to record Vitus when the wall came down.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing, like just passionate things and times, that really makes it all worthwhile to have chosen the path that I have chosen,
Absolutely.
Well, we're happy you chose that path, Wino. You bring
Absolutely
a lot of awesomeness to so many of us. You're a cool
I
cat.
I can't do without you guys either, really, like, we're carrying the torch, and that's what it is.
You got to do it.
Absolutely.
You got to do it. Create or die.
Create or
there
die.
You go.
And thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
It's about who's got the passion, man, Who's into music for real?
The apple didn't fall far from the tree.
It's Trev's daddy, he's big as shit, it's Bill Church.
My dad was always in bands. People know my dad from Montrose, Sammy Hagar, Van Morrison.
We used to be such a tight unit, and we would always do things together as a unit.
The infighting just got worse and worse and worse.
Didn't actually seem like we were living up to the hype, I guess you could say, in like a business sense.
But everybody in this band gets along really, really well. We're four brothers. We really are.
The rock and roll cliche. Yeah, we were a rock and roll cliche, but shit went down and stuff was done.
Like there's no bands here, man.
Wasteland. Like it's where local bands go to die.
They said they did not want me in the band.
Eric was the driver and the glue behind that band.
It was a struggle in the beginning with the business, but now it's basically paying off for all my dreams.
For me, it's like me up against all the Van Halen kids.
He's quest-driven. His dad got cut. It's like Luke Skywalker.
We know our clock is done, our time is up, but we just do it because we like to do it.
SoCal Heavy Jam, a bunch of friends throwing down on a great stage with an amazing sound system.
If I stopped and I got out of the band, I think I'd really still enjoy putting it on.
One of the premier scenes for heavy rock in America.
There is a group of knuckleheads that like this stuff, and I think we're having a freaking blast doing it.
In ways, it's more fun now, I think, because we don't do any of the stupid shit you did back then,
Why do I do it? Because, the easiest answer, because I love doing it.